inspiration emulation, right? Emulate or copy off of what I am inspired by. By the end of this video, you're gonna walk away with 8 solid new tools to add to your filmmaker utility belt to help you make some good films. So a couple of weeks ago, a young subscriber asked me, how do I make films at 14? Get to the point. What you want to do is get to the conflict as soon as you possibly can. So think about this as you're watching your film in the editing room. How long does it take for my audience to get an idea of where my main character is and what's going on? But if your shot does go on for too long, think about how can I make this long take as captivating and as fun as possible, because you always want to be adding new information for the audience to latch on to that's pertinent to your story as time goes by. Don't put too much negative space in the frame. This is the area around and in between the subject of your image. I'd say negative space kind of gives your audience's eyes a place to rest. So our jobs as filmmakers is to utilize negative space in order for us to create a balanced frame. So hopefully as you're looking at this shot right now, I'm in focus. I'm the subject of your frame, but behind me, you've got some things out of focus, and hopefully you're not focusing on that. Hopefully you're focusing on me. And hopefully the negative space around me is being utilized in order to frame me properly. Make a few films without dialogue. This forces you to maximize the value your audience is getting from their visual experience. You'll never be stumped on, oh, what should my character say here? And due to the fact that you're even thinking like this, you've lost sight of why that character is even talking to begin with. And the reason why anyone talks to anybody else in film is because they want something from that other person.
You have time to do the things you want to do, like study and plan, but you can't have dinners like this or be physical with a person, I mean, outside of flirtationship.
Where are you going with this?
I want that. With you.
Do not break continuity in any way. So we're always trying to maintain perfect continuity. This means while we are filming, we want all details about everything about our film to stay consistent. Like while I'm talking to you, you're expecting certain details about the frame to be consistent while I'm speaking to you, right? An alarm is gonna go off in the audience's mind, like, okay, something's not right here. So while I'm talking to you, my shirt color should stay the same. It shouldn't be changing from blue to white to yellow. And if this detail changes, the jig is up and your audience is gonna know something's off, and they'll be taken out of your story. Same thing is true for audio. If your audio levels are higher in one shot and then lower in the other shot, you have got to match those audio levels to make sure that audio is consistent all throughout your film, that it reaches generally the same range of peaks and valleys. Which brings me to my next point. Monitor your audio. From shot to shot, you don't want any clicks, pops, beeps, hums, or sound disruptions at all. Our shots should flow together seamlessly without any auditory disruption. And also make sure you don't break the 180 rule. This is also known as the continuity of spatial orientation. Let me break it down. So the master shot establishes the proximity that one character has with another, as well as the perspective from which the camera is capturing the exchange. Now, this is a rule that new filmmakers break all the time. So the 180 rule directs your camera placement from shot to shot in a scene. So let's say there's 2 characters talking to each other in a scene. They're facing each other. So according to the 180 rule, the camera can only be on the left side of actor A and on the right side of actor B. Obeying this rule maintains something we call spatial continuity amongst all of your camera angles in the scene. Now, if this rule isn't learned, your audience is gonna have a rough time piecing together what the heck's going on in your film. It'll appear as if an actor is appearing on one end of the screen and disappearing from that end to the other end. It'll look choppy AF. It can disorient your audience or inaccurately convey where your subjects are in your scene. So in order to obey this rule, we've gotta stay on the 180-degree axis of action in the scene so that all of the closer shots we put in our scene will maintain a constant looking direction. This is one of the keys to seamless edits. So you're a young filmmaker and you want to learn how to make good films. You've come to the right place because I've been making them ever since before I was 14. And most of those films are films that you will never see. I could talk about, yes, you gotta have great audio, or yes, you have to have a great central conflict, but you're a young filmmaker. Don't worry about those things just yet. I know I didn't. So by the end of this video, you're gonna walk away with 8 tools to put around your filmmaker utility belt to make you the best young filmmaker imaginable. You ready? Number 1, inspiration emulation. What does that mean? I'll explain. Start by making something that makes you happy, something that wakes you up in the morning. Don't make something just because you think, oh, film festival Sunday, I'm gonna like this, oh, they're gonna like it, oh, and I'm gonna get all the awards. Don't think about that yet. Think about what is going to be the most fun and exciting thing for me to film right now. Because 10 to 20 years down the line of your filmmaking journey, you're gonna realize it's repetition coupled with self-awareness that eventually makes you the best filmmaker imaginable. Repetition. So filming over and over and over again gets you into the habit of practicing different camera shots, different lighting techniques, different camera movements, and ultimately practicing all kinds of different filmmaking techniques to perfect it over time. So quick tip to young filmmakers, practice filming whatever you're going to film well before the actual day you film it. You really want to practice each and every camera move and lighting tactic well before the day arrives that you have to actually film it for real. If you don't, you'll end up wasting a crap ton of time and energy. So back to inspiration emulation. Create a fun, little 1 to 2 minute story. What TV show, video game, or movie inspired you to become a filmmaker to begin with? Got it? Good. Now think about your favorite moment in that film, television show, or video game. So you're gonna be using that as the basis to shoot your next short film. Is it a comedy, drama, horror, action film, etc.? Now point out what moment in that film had you the most excited. Jot down how that moment made you feel. So I'm gonna identify a genre. Horror. How did that exciting moment make you feel? Scared. So there's this really brilliant game called
Resident Evil 4.
In it, there was this point in the game where you were tied up, hands bound behind your back, and there were these swarm of zombies that were coming to attack this cabin. And you basically had to fend off this swarm of zombies, and it was just the most terrifying, like heart palpitating thing I've ever experienced. And I think I was like 12 when I played that video game. I remember being so scared and horrified and excited that at that point forward, I was like, oh yeah, I'm all in on this video game. So use that excited feeling that you got from your inspiration as the guiding light to make your next few films. Your objective is to reach that exciting point as quickly as possible in your films. Because after you're tired of making films like this, you're gonna make different films. And when you compare those movies that you've made across all genres, you'll begin to recognize certain patterns or certain things that repeat, or certain things that you enjoy doing in a lot of those films. Now this thread that ties all of your films together will begin to form your filmmaking style. This is one of the reasons why self-awareness is so important, because as you make different works, you'll be able to see certain patterns. Some patterns that repeat amongst different films make your films better. And if you're paying attention to your film's negative qualities, which means we're being very honest to ourselves about the bad things about our movies, and as we take note of these bad qualities or bad characteristics, we're gonna make less of those bad elements and bad characteristics as we move forward in our filmmaking careers. And over time, the bad choices that we make in our filmmaking will become less and less and less. But this only happens that if over time you hold yourself to a very, very high standard. Very, very simple. You look at your work and you say, Does this look like it could be on television tomorrow? If the answer is no, we've still got some work to do. So first off, you're gonna wanna identify the genre that you like. Pick an exciting moment in that film, TV show, or game, and take note of how that exciting moment made you feel. So I identified the moment. In Resident Evil 4, there was a point that Leon, which is the main character of the video game, was being surrounded by a bunch of zombies. You're like, I'm in grave danger. My life, I'm fighting for it. Got no clue when these zombies are gonna stop coming. I'm about to run out of ammo. So time's running out, which means that tension's really high because your audience is wondering, what's gonna happen next? Is he gonna die? Is he gonna live? What's gonna happen when he runs out of bullets? So you'll realize that this conflict has multiple layers to it, and you wanna emulate that in your story. So if you're making a story that's similar to this or based off of this, you're gonna think to yourself, how could I make my conflict have multiple layers just like this scene? All of these things are really, really important, right? Because these are essential elements of what makes this so effective, what makes this scene work so well. Because I too want my audience to feel the same thing. I want my audience to feel those same emotions. So I'm like, ooh, my short's gonna have a similar moment. Inspiration, emulation, right? Emulate or copy off of what I am inspired by. Okay, so structure. You know, in grade school, you were taught how stories have a beginning, middle, and an end, right? Cinematic structure informs your choices as a writer. It helps improves your film's pacing so that nobody gets bored, and gives your film this dynamic nature where you're systematically switching between positive things and negative things. Now, you are going to hear tons of people who say, structure makes a film corny, or it makes it bad, or it makes it predictable. All of these people would be wrong. Don't listen to them at all. So for me, I like Blake Snyder's Beat Sheet. I also like Dan Harmon's Story Circle. Phenomenal films such as Avatar 2, Way of Water, Interstellar, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Inception, Slumdog Millionaire, Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man No Way Home, Up, Soul, and so many other films use these cinematic structure techniques. The things that make stories bad isn't perfect structure. It's a poorly executed premise, it's lack of specificity in your story, lack of deep characterization, poor setups, poor payoffs, poor dialogue, no story momentum, no central conflict, no controlling idea, and the list goes on and on and on. Perfect structure is not one of the things that makes a story predictable, bad, corny, whatever. Fight me on that. So what's an easy story structure technique I can use, Alan? I got you. I got you. This one's called Dan Harmon's Story Circle. You need go, search, find, take, return, change. Now, if you're interested in an in-depth walkthrough of Dan Harmon's Story Circle, then you can take a look at this video. I walk you through a story I created in my head based off of that scene in Resident Evil 4. And I go through the whole story circle and I explain it in vivid detail. So definitely be sure to take a look at that right after you're finished watching this video. So number 3, you want a clear outer motivation for your main character. AKA, you want a finish line. You want your story to have a finish line. This is what your character wants. Nail down your character's outer motivation. What does your main character want all throughout the film? What'll kill him if he doesn't have it? Now, the audience should know this as soon as possible. Number 4, you want a clear antagonistic force. And this satiates the need for conflict in your story. So there has to be some force that goes up against what your main character wants to do. That's it. Doesn't have to be an actual person. It could be a thing, it could be a concept, it could be an idea. Something has to be clear that goes up against your main character. Kind of like your main character is running up against a brick wall, and that brick wall is the antagonistic force. Can't get through it. Number 5, maximize the enjoyment that your work gives to you, and also maximize the enjoyment that your work gives to your audience. Oh, this is the good part. That's the good part. Stick around for the good part. You want the whole film to be the good part. And also, I really want to make sure that you as the filmmaker is enjoying every single moment, because in the long run, it's the enjoyment for what you're doing. It's the enjoyment for your craft that's going to keep you going in the long run. So guard your craft. Number 6, you really want to master short form storytelling on the cheap, because this makes it possible for you to repeat the filmmaking process over and over and over and over again very quickly and get better a lot faster. Do not wait for the money. The money may never come. You've got to get her done yourself. Number 7, if I were in your position, a 14-year-old, 13-year-old young filmmaker, I would want to try to get myself into a position of power. Now, what does that mean? I'm 13 now, I'm 14 now, and I can't do that. Yes, you can. You can build your audience. You can connect yourself with the right people. And now more than ever, building your audience is paramount, because you're gonna realize that the paradigm of the filmmaking and entertainment industry is shifting a little bit. And although you may be a young filmmaker, you can build your influence and spread your message to the entire world by using platforms like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And number 8, you wanna identify filmmaking resources. Write them down, put it on your phone, put it on your computer. You want to write down film festivals geared towards people who are your age so that you can eventually submit your work. What fellowships are available, just Google filmmaking fellowships, Google internships that are available so that you can prepare to apply for them depending on whatever your filmmaking goals are. All right, guys, if you're a filmmaker, please be sure to grab yourself a Clover Key. And also check out my film, The Brotherhood. You can find it on Tubi TV, Amazon Prime, Roku channel, Plex, and a few other streaming platforms out there. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do subscribe, like the video. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Until next time, peace.